Hey guys, I'll be here once more, this time around with the Scrambler. I received multiple messages from you guys asking about the brake system on the Scrambler. How to remove the calipers, how to replace the brake pads, how to bleed the brake system itself. So in this episode, real quick, I'm gonna show you how to remove the calipers. We have only one up front and one in the back, so easy peasy. How to replace the brake pads and how to bleed the system. But enough with the chit chat, let's begin with the front caliper. Before you take anything apart, I recommend to grab your cell phone and snap a picture so that you're gonna remember where everything goes when you're putting it back together. Specifically, there is an actual spring that keeps the brake pads where they're supposed to be over here. To show you guys how to take the front caliper apart, I don't really need to take the caliper apart because it's such an easy job to do. So instead, we need to focus on a few things. First of all, the caliper is held in place by those two bolts. Those two bolts are two 8mm Allen keys. If you take off those two, the caliper will literally come off. Another thing you want to do, if you want to remove the caliper completely, you need to take care of the banjo bolt over here, which is the bolt that goes through the hose for the brake fluid. And the caliper is literally free to come out. If you just want to replace the brake pads, it's a very easy task to do as well. First of all, there is a clip right over here that keeps everything in place. So what you need to do is get a T30, because this one is actually a Torx, remove this thing over here, and literally brake pads are gonna come out this way. It's very, very simple. If you're doing a brake pad job, the only thing you need to take care is to push the pistons back inside, so to give you some space for the brand new pads. The brand new pads are gonna be way thicker than the old pads. So, and that's about it. If you're bleeding, the front system, the banjo bolt and the bleeding nipple are both on the same bolt. So you get an 8mm and you undo this bolt over here. But I'll show you how to bleed the rear, and the front is exactly the same. But the rear, it's easier by yourself because the brake is nearby the bleeding bolt, so easier than that. This is all you need to know to remove the caliper, replace the brake pads, or bleed the system if you're flushing the brake fluid out. So very easy, very few bolts, and on a Scrambler it's only one on one side and that's it. Now let's move on to the rear, and I'm actually going to show you how to bleed the system. I'm actually going to replace some of the fluid from the rear reservoir. When it comes to the rear caliper, it's a little bit more time consuming than the front. First of all, to remove the caliper, you actually have to remove the rear wheel, because the caliper, it's held in place by a bracket that is held in place by the rear wheel. So remove the rear wheel and the whole caliper and the bracket will come out. Other than that, you have the brake pedal over here. It went down quite a bit. You have the brake reservoir up here and the caliper in the back. As I said, to remove the caliper itself, you have to remove the rear wheel, because this silver bracket over here, it's what is supposed to come out, and the caliper is pretty much attached. So remove the ABS sensor, remove the bolt over here for the fluid, and then remove the wheel, and pretty much everything comes out. It's easy as that. Now let's remove the brake pads. So to remove the brake pads, first thing you gotta do is remove this pin over here, and it literally just pulls out. Second thing you gotta do is put something in here to push out this aligning pin for the brake pads. In my case, I'm gonna use a nail that I flattened the head of. So I'm gonna put it in there, and then I'm gonna use plumber pliers or whatever those are called, because you cannot hammer it out, you actually gotta squeeze it out like that. The reason why you have to squeeze it out, it's because on the back side of the bolt there is this thing over here that kind of presses inside the back side of the caliper. Once you have these removed, the brake pads are gonna fall off, and that's it. The brake pad pretty much sits inside the caliper like this and is held in place by the pin through the hole. That's it. So those brake pads are still very good, so I'm gonna put it back on. And to put it back on, you just push it back in until they sit inside, and then you get the aligning pin from the back. Let's see if I can show you guys. From the back, right like that, push the pad up, pin in. Push the other pad up, pin in. And that's it. At this point, you gotta press it back in, and it's the same thing. Grab your plumber pliers or plumber, whatever those are called, and press it back in place like that. Now, since they're slightly recessed in the back, I'm gonna go on the other side and give it 2 or 3 hits to push it back in properly. That should do it. At this point the hole is exposed, and I can just put the pin back in the hole, and it literally just presses in. Once it's in, that's it. Your brake pads are being replaced. So it's time now to bleed the system. Let's say you have dirty oil or whatever, you want to bleed the system out. So what you gotta do is remove the little rubber protector. You gotta have to use one of those. This is just a catch can pretty much, and a little rubber hose. Put your 11mm in there. Then you put the hose on the nipple, just like that. Set this anywhere. Then open the reservoir, taking care not to have contaminants go in there. Press on the brake all the way down. Open the bolt. You'll feel the brake pedal go down. See the oil coming up, and close before you release the brake pedal. So push, open, the brake pedal goes down, close, release the brake pedal. And as you guys can see, the oil is moving through the line. If you're flushing the system altogether, you're gonna wait until all the oil is gone, and then you're gonna start adding. Put the cap back on. Now in my case, I'm gonna leave it just above the minimum line because my brake pads are used. So if I would fill it up all the way, when I go replace the brake pads, because I'm pushing the pistons back inside the caliper, I would have the brake fluid come back into the reservoir and spill it out. So I'm gonna leave it like that, and then I'm going to remove, drain the oil all the way into the catch can. And as you guys can see, I removed that much fluid, brake fluid, and it's kind of brownish because there was some older fluid in the caliper. Clean every drop of brake fluid, and once you clean it properly, put the rubber cap back on. you just bled the system. As you guys have seen, working on the brakes of the Scrambler, it's really easy. Besides that, everything I said in this video actually applies to definitely most Ducatis, but most of all applies to most motorcycles. Usually is some variation of the same system. And when it comes to bleeding the brakes, that's exactly the same procedure. I'll tell you what, is the same procedure even to bleed the brakes of a car. When it comes to the brakes, my philosophy is if you don't need to touch them, since they're a safety sensitive part, don't touch them. Therefore, I'm not going to remove the caliper unless I actually have to, front and back. For the brake pads, I obviously show you the back because it's a little bit more laborious. While up front you unscrew a bolt, over here you actually have to press it out because it's actually pressed in place. So I removed those pads, but it's a very easy procedure and anybody can do it. Just be meticulous, put everything back as you found it, and most of all, take care of not spilling the brake fluid anywhere, because the brake fluid actually corrodes the paint. So if you spill it on your swing arm, if you spill it on any painted part, it's going to pretty much corrode wherever it goes to. Here in California it's super hot right now. I'm sweating profusely even if it's night, but fortunately I have this 100% cotton Albe's ADV Scrambler Project shirt. So go to the site, get yourself one, and if you like the video, like. If you love the video, subscribe. If you don't love the video, leave a comment below. Let me know why. And if you have any question about brakes, leave a comment down below. I'm gonna reply to them as fast and as best as I can. Other than that, I hope this video actually helped you guys, and dirt on, and I'll see you next time.